Haere e te whānau. Welcome to the Fight of the Next podcast. We're all Australian-based today. I am Holly here on Gadigal land in Sydney, as is Danny. We are joined by Eric Subijano, who is on Darug land out in the hills. Welcome, Eric.
Thanks, Holly, and hello, Danny. Thanks for having me on.
So, Eric is someone that you would quite often see at women's football around New South Wales. He is a New South Wales NPL women's commentator and ground announcer as well. Most famously, the time at Leichhardt Oval when he announced us as Brisbane Roar rather than Wellington Phoenix. I think Jets outdid it yesterday. We can mention that. So we'll talk about the women's game first. We've got a player of match, was Pia Vlock. She got a hat-trick. It was amazing. That's the first hat-trick for our women's team, and she is the second youngest hat-trick scorer in the dub, which was fantastic. We had a great turnout from the Little Corner of Yellow at number 2 Sports Ground, including Erin, whose birthday it is today. So happy birthday, Erin. Let's just get cracking into the... So 10th minute, we get a goal, Vlock's first goal. So Mania Elliott wins the ball really wide, passes it into the centre to Jale. Jale passes it to Vlock, top of the box. Our press was working really, really well, particularly in the first part of the game, and that's actually how we scored, I think, quite a few of our goals. 15th minute, another Vlock goal. Woods, who got 3 assists for this game, she picks up a turnover, passes it to Pia, again, top of the box, because Pia only seems to score from the top of the box. Again, into the back of the net. 20th minute, we got to the point where we were actually couldn't believe ourselves. Pinenberg, assist by Wood, top of the box as well. 24th minute, Ali Walker gets in on it. There's a corner, the ball pops out. Lulion sort of volleys it back in. It sort of loops up and Ali loops it into the goal. It was really, really good. 64th minute, Pia with her third goal. She runs on to Michaela Woods' through ball. And again, top of the box, puts it into the back of the net. I did feel a little bit for the Jets keeper. They were on debut. I believe Annalete is injured. The game was suspended after a couple of minutes, and after, I'm guessing, the referee and those running the match, in discussion with the teams, decided it was not worth continuing at 5-1, which I think we were all grateful for. It was a bit of a concern for one of the ground staff at number 2 Sports Ground, because initially the announcer had said the game's definitely called off, and then later the announcer comes and actually they might be coming back out. And so there was this poor ground staff lady with a giant aluminium ladder, walking to go and take the nets down, and everyone's just like, she is going to get shocked by lightning. She didn't, and the game was called 5-1. How good. Eric, as our guest, would you like to set us off?
Yes, firstly, for Annalete, we were told by Claire, the famous fan from Jets Active, that Annalete was sitting out with a concussion, so hopefully that's all that it is, and we can see her back in goal soon, because she has had a great season for Newcastle. First, I was impressed with the intensity with which Wellington started the game. You mentioned the high press. And then, of course, we can't talk enough about Pia Vlock, deserved winner of the Little Corner of Yellow's own Player of the Match award. And I think Pia Vlock has what I wish a lot more young attackers would have in this league, which is, if you're basically anywhere near the goal, just shoot. Because she's very certain in those types of situations, as you said, top of the box. And it doesn't always come easily to teenagers.
It was great goals by Pia Vlock. As I say, she does shoot whenever she gets anywhere close, and she's got a good strike. She's pleasantly greedy, if you like, in that respect. She obviously wants to score. And yeah, as you say, a lot of players who could do a bit more of that when they're playing there. But the game was all over basically in about 20 minutes, because we were so dominant over Newcastle. I think Bev Priestman picked just absolutely the right tactics. So we went very hard from the off, high pressing on their keeper. I don't know how obvious it was on the broadcast, but there was a really strong wind going one way, and we were playing with the wind in the first half. And I think that may have been the reason why Newcastle kept trying to play it out the back rather than just kicking it long, because when you're trying to kick it long, it's just going to go back on you, so you're not getting it very far. So they continue to try to play it out from the back. And a high press. Manair Elliott was pressing up there. She was the left back, and she was right up there. And we won the ball numerous times, and it led to like 2 or 3 goals there. So it just looked like they just couldn't get out of their half. And every time they tried, we'd get the ball, push it up there, and Pavlov was on form. Pannenberg shoots. We could have had plenty more goals as well. And we had a number of corners, and with that wind just blowing it in, the chances of an Olympico was probably greater than 50%, I think. And we came pretty close on a few occasions. Manair Elliott putting it in with the left foot, very impressive. Yeah, great. Amazing first half. The game was all over. The Jets fans, sadly for them, were basically silent for 20 minutes, and they've had another sort of 50 minutes, 70 minutes to sit through basically Phoenix dominance. Second half against, we were in the wind and it was a bit more even, and the Jets pushed forward a bit more, but we just dealt with that a lot better than they did. And then we hit them on the break, Pia Block again. And if you've got a one-on-one, there's no one else you want to see apart from Pia Block on that ball, because she's got the pace, she can outpace them, she's strong enough to hold up, and then she got that shot. Both feet as well. She scored it with her left foot, and she got her previous 2 goals with her right foot. So she's got some ceiling. I'm not sure where that ceiling is, but we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with her. I think she's on a multi-year contract. I bloody hope she is anyway. And we're in some ways a little bit lucky that Western United went into hibernation this year, because she was actually signed with Western United, and we only got her because they went into hibernation. So we could have been on the receiving end potentially of Block, and she is a very high ceiling there. With those 3 goals, and as I said, our player of the match. Let's talk about now, I didn't see this very well, and Danny, I think you saw it in the 70th minute, where Michaela is fouled, and she gets, I have props now, she gets a yellow card for maybe kicking out at the player who had fouled her. Did she deserve a red card? Eric, I don't know whether you saw it, and we can go to Danny.
I think I'm in the same boat as you, Holly. I saw the aftermath of the alleged kick, but not anything resembling a kick itself. So, Danny, please take us away.
Yeah, so it was a tackle on Woods. It was a foul, and we got the free kick for it. It wasn't particularly, it didn't look like a particularly terrible foul. But certainly Woods was on the floor, and when the Jets player was walking away, Woods definitely tripped her up. Whether he kicked her, whether he just put a boot out, whether he got tangled in the foot, I don't know. But there was definitely a retaliation move there. And yes, another referee could have given a red card. I'm not saying it should have been a red card. I don't like red cards. They do spoil the game somewhat, so I'm not in favour of them giving out for anything. But it was retaliation by the laws of the game. She could have got a red card, and she wouldn't have had much to argue about. And then it was interesting because, again, we were cruising at this point. We'd already won the game. Woods had a good game. She got 3 assists. Yes, she was getting fouled, but then she gets fouled all the time. She's a centre forward. That's what happens. So I'm not sure what happened in this foul that made her so angry to do that, or being kicked left, right, and centre, which happens to her. But yeah, possibly a little bit lucky. Maybe as we did last week with Vandermeer as well, we may have dodged a couple of red cards there. I don't think the referee was very good otherwise, to be honest. She made some mistakes the other way, so it was nice to get one decision our way.
Yeah, there were a couple of calls where it felt like, it was hard to tell. So in the 14th, Michaela Woods did have the ball in the back of the net. A foul was given. So what happened? The cross had come in, and Richie had grabbed it, and then was clattered into by, I think it was Tash Pryor, and then the ball drops out. And clearly it wasn't our foul on the keeper, but I do wonder whether the foul was technically supposed to be on the player that Woods nipped in and stole the ball off of. But it was interesting to see that, and obviously, no VAR for the woman. The other one that was maybe a little bit, maybe it had gone one way and it should have gone the other as well, was Lou Leon ran in on Richie and didn't actually touch her, and got a yellow card for her efforts. But to me, it looked like the same thing happened to Essen at the other end of the field, and there was no card. Again, refs see what they see. Any thoughts on that one, Eric?
Yeah, I actually watched the mini match just before we started recording. Yeah, I think Leon fouls Richie. I think that's definite. I'm watching again now. I'm even more shocked that it was a yellow because the ball is basically there, and then Richie grabs it, and then a millisecond later there's contact. So, and I wonder if because Leon was subs just afterwards, which might have been planned anyway, but she seemed quite upset as she walked to the bench, I feel, that wasn't because of the scoreboard, so I feel like that was because of the yellow card.
Yeah, I haven't watched the replay on TV, so I don't know. I mean, at the time, I thought it probably was a foul. Chances are it's a foul, but if you're a striker and that ball's there, you've got to go for it. If you don't, you're going to get hauled off for not trying to score. So I can see why strikers will get annoyed because the ball's there to be won. If the keeper gets there first and then they make contact, they maybe get a yellow there. I think what annoyed us a little bit there was the lack of consistency because almost an identical thing happened down the other end, maybe 5-10 minutes later, and then there was no yellow card. And it's like, okay, well, if there's a foul one end, if the yellow card one end, it's got to be yellow card the other end. There's consistency that you want. And there was one very bad foul on PF Lock down by the byline near ourselves, which went unpunished as well. And it just felt like, okay, you've again, consistency is what all fans say they want. I mean, all they really want is obviously decisions for their own side. But if you can't just have that, then consistency both ways is probably the ideal thing. So. And for the disallowed goal, I think it was one of the things where the ref knew something had happened, blew the whistle, and then had to make a decision about what the decision was. Because people were going down in a heap. I couldn't see it. Again, I'll watch it again on the replay, but no one could see what it was for. Was it a head clash with the keeper and her defender, in which case it should have been a drop ball, given the defender? I just think the ref saw people go to the floor, blew the whistle. And then really went, okay, I'm not sure why I've blown that. Okay, let's go for a foul. Because the free kick wasn't taken where Woods was, it was taken where the keeper and the Jets player were. And they're obviously on the same side. So that was a bit disappointing. But again, we didn't have time to really consider that because PF Lock scored about 60 seconds later. So it's like, okay, well, fine.
Eric, would you like to tell us the funny stuff with the scoreboard, seeing as you're our resident telling people that they're the wrong team?
Yes, and by the way, before I forget, to allay fans of Wellington, the fears of Wellington fans for when you play away to Sydney, I'm actually not available as ground announcing for that game. If there's a mistake, it's going to be someone else. But we were confused for most of the first, 60 minutes, that there was a screen opposite the grandstand at number 2 Sports Ground, but it was showing someone's logo, possibly a sponsor's logo. And then finally they decided to show the score, and it was 4-0 at the time. They got that right, but it said Newcastle 0, Adelaide 4, which was quite funny. And then, resulting in the obvious chance of come on Adelaide, etc. I think we were discussing at the time, it was curious. Clearly they'd been paying attention enough to keep the score updated. That wasn't the issue. But how did Adelaide? Yeah, it must be. It is actually. Yeah, their most recent home game was against Adelaide. But why was that not changed? I don't know.
Yeah, there was a fair few technical glitches, should we say, at Newcastle yesterday. So at half time, when there was a cheer squad came on and their music didn't work, so they had to start over a couple of times. We had the scoreboard, which announced itself by announcing a goal in big bright letters when there was just an injury break and there was no goal. 15 minutes either side of it. Before then, it started to put up the wrong score. We stayed up there for a good 10 minutes before someone took it down and then just obviously given up completely. And then when one of our substitutions, we were apparently calling for number 62 to come off, which I understood because 62 didn't play very well at all. In fact, I barely saw her. I don't remember her being on the pitch at all. So probably right that she came off. But yeah, so they probably didn't cover themselves in glory there, but it was all a good day.
Yeah, technical issues all round. They also had like a halftime, these cheerleader dances, which was heaps of fun, but their music cut out halfway through. They had to start again. Nothing is quite as funny as the fact that they left us, Jets versus Adelaide, up and then just turned it off. And also, but worse, the biggest gaffe of the whole evening was definitely that poor woman trying to take the nets down with a giant aluminum ladder at the end. I thought it was really awesome that we had a few Nepalese fans join us. We haven't seen much of that with Samba gone. These guys lived in Newcastle, they said, and we were glad that they showed up to support the team, and it looked like they had a heap of fun as well. Another thing to mention is Tiana Jaber back, which is awesome because she broke her leg pre-season and she has been a long way off coming back. I'll mention our next game, and then we can talk about that and wrap up the game we had yesterday. So up next, we have a double header at Sky/Henry Stadium, such as the new name. The women are playing Perth, kicking off at 4 p.m. So that's Friday, which is a public holiday in New Zealand, obviously a Waitangi Day. Double header 4 p.m. for the women. I think we need to beat Perth. We are 2 points off first place. It's obviously really congested everywhere else in the table, but we are only 2 points behind City, and we've got equal games. We really have to go for it. Further thoughts on the game against Newcastle, and then thoughts about the game against Perth. Eric, would you like to start?
Watch the pre-game, and I should thank Dean for giving us a lift from Berara up to Newcastle. Much appreciated. But also, I like noticing the niche things. I was impressed that Wellington bought 3 keepers to an away game in New South Wales. I'm not sure I've ever seen Wanderers, Sydney, or the Mariners have 3 keepers away in Newcastle. So the fact that Wellington do it is pretty good. Shows you how seriously they take it. Not just that, but the staffing levels they have, even at away games, is very impressive. But yeah, I'm just glad we got 88 minutes in the end, because I was thinking we were going to get a lot less than 88 minutes of play before the Lightning was too close. In fact, we were discussing, you did ask me during the first half, what's the rule regarding stoppages with weather? So, in case anyone's interested, they can basically call it once you played half of the game. The refs have that option. But, so to get 88 minutes was great. You never know, goal difference might be the thing that, gets Wellington into the finals, gets Wellington a home final, or even a week off, the way the final series works. So the fact that they now by far the best goal difference in the league, it could be that those goals could be very valuable.
We've talked, obviously, it sort of goes without saying, we won 5-1. It was a good performance, but it really was a very good performance. And as I say, I think tactically, Bev Priestman got it absolutely right in what she did in the first half and going out hard when we had the wing behind us, pressing up. And it solves the problems that we've had of having not really having a set defensive midfielder. I thought Peinenberg had her best game for us. I thought she was very good because she was up there pressing, and she's quite good with the ball in terms of passing it off. And she didn't really need to sit at the back and sweep in front of the back three, because Newcastle never really got that far, and they couldn't lump. When they did lump it up a little bit, our back three are very good in the air, so they can put there. So Elliott was pushing up a lot on the left, and in the second half, Brooke Nunn again just kept running all the way through. Very impressive. She put in a heck of a lot of work. And then Woods, again, she got 3 assists. I think she's now second in the league in assists. Bearing in mind she's played like 4 games this season. That's pretty impressive. So it shows what she gives, apart from just scoring goals. It shows, the what she offers to the team as a role in our attacking force. I think what was also good and noticeable about the game is that because we basically had it won by half time, Bev was able to make substitutions early and just clear the bench and give people minutes. So JB came on, which was great to see. People like Jale came off, which is pretty unusual, but, we could afford to do that. And Mackenzie Anthony came on and got a fair few minutes as well. So that was Zoe Benson as well, who very nearly scored. So it's good to give players like that some minutes in an environment where it's basically, error free. It doesn't matter. We're going to win anyway. And of course, we actually ended up scoring as well. So that was good to see. Perth coming up. Oh, you've got to assume we're going to win, right? Assumptions are a terrible thing to do. We've got the players. We are better than Perth on paper. If they put a performance together, then they'll win easily. If they don't put a performance together, then we'll probably just win narrowly. I'm not confident about the players we've got. They're all really good. I think Bev Priestman prepares them very well. Again, the only thing that we worry about is a little bit is our defensive stability in terms of the strength. But we've got so much going forward that, I think we'll outscore pretty much most teams we'll come up against. So I certainly predict a win on Friday.
Yeah, I agree, Danny. Also, it's going to be so tough for Perth I assume they're landing in New Zealand on Thursday, one night in Wellington, and then they got to play play, what is it? Because it's 4 p.m. Wellington time. That would be, I've got to do the maths. They're going to play at 11 a.m. Perth time on Friday. So this is going to be definitely a different experience for Perth. So there's so much against them. And, football has this funny way of proving us wrong. But, yeah, I think this is, given the momentum Phoenix have built, I think it's also a great time to have the team with the longest trip at home next up. So it's a great opportunity for Knicks to keep that momentum up.
For sure. And one of the things that has been a change this year, which does come at quite a cost, is we usually would travel match day -1. So you weren't getting a lot of time. If you were lucky that you could string together, if you had a couple of fixtures in quick succession somewhere, that you would just stay over here. But that's a change. Now we're turning up match day -2. I'm assuming the men asked for the same thing and got it. There is a big cost there, but I think it is actually paying off. Well, thank you for joining us, Eric. Do you want to let us know where people can find you and what you're up to in the next however long?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. The handle is at Eric_Subijano. So Eric ERIC and then Subijano SUBIJANO. Also on Blue Sky. So it's Eric Subijano, but without the underscore, is basically, and then you'll find the rest of the handle. Also check my other women's football platform out, Beyond 90, which is Beyond 90 AU for Instagram and Blue Sky, and we've got a podcast as well that's up on all the major platforms. And beside that, because you mentioned my commentary earlier, the commentary season's about to start in NPL New South Wales for the men. So if you're interested in that, check it out. That's just at the Football New South Wales YouTube channel, Football NSW. And then, but probably more to interest of this, at least listeners to this particular part of the podcast, is that the NPL Women's New South Wales season starts on Saturday, March the 7th. And there are a few Kiwis in the competition. So if you are interested, and there's a couple at Northern Tigers is one of them. If you are interested, just, check them out. And I'm sure Dean will be following the Kiwis, and you Holly, you'll be following the Kiwis around NPL Women's New South Wales when you can. And also, it'll be interesting to see if there's any, you never know if there's any Wellington Phoenix fans, or probably Tiana J, but to be honest, who'll be going back to Sydney, that'll drop into NPL Women's New South Wales after their A-League commitments are finished. So, yeah, I'll be definitely busy during the weekends.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Have a good one.
Thank you. See ya. Thank you. See ya.
So let us move on to the men, Danny. Let me start this way. If we had been down 2-0 and we had made a comeback in the second half and we had almost won the game with a penalty in stoppage time, we'd be very happy. But we're not, because that's not what happened. One of the big changes coming out was LB Kelly-Held was in goal. The goalkeeping coach said that he has earned his spot back during training. So that was interesting. 3rd minute, we had an Azar goal. This was just poor defending by City. There were a lot of defensive mistakes for both teams, as we'll get to later. Very, very easy goal. There's just a mix-up between Suprayan and Beach. He just puts it in. Nice and easy. At half-time, City had not had a single shot. Not a single shot. No, XG 0.00. Really, really poor from them. And their first sort of half an hour was just shocking defending. 52nd minute, another Azar goal. 2 touches, smashes it in. Nice goal. And then comes the comeback. 73rd minute, Eunice with a goal. He runs down the ball and he blocks LB's attempted clearance. Ball is in the back of the net, and I think even the worst mistake of all was 77th minute. Mehmeti scored. Bill's got a lot of experience. I like Bill, and he was really taking his time to pick passes, and I feel like he's someone we can build out from the back with, which is really positive. But this time he's just taken his eye off the ball. And we've conceded, and suddenly it's 2-2. The final talking point was handball by Bonitas in the penalty box. James stepped up and it's saved by Beach. Full time 2, or I feel like that's 2 points dropped, and I think there was some very poor defending by both teams in some sections. Danny, how'd you feel?
I mean, obviously you're disappointed because you're 2-0 up. You shouldn't lose a game. You're 2-0 up with sort of 15, 20 minutes to go, and we did. But we didn't lose it because we had a bad formation, or, we set up wrong, or we didn't attack enough. We lost it because of two mistakes from two players. One very stupid mistake from Tuiloma. The other one, Albert Kelly-Hill, I think was actually a little bit unlucky. He made the right decision to come out, but the ball bounced the wrong way for him. Eunice probably shouldn't have been through like that, but again, it was unfortunately Bill Tuiloma who didn't step up quickly enough. And again, I like Tuiloma. He's obviously a very good player, and his calmness on the ball looks really good. And he likes to play straight forward down the middle, which a lot of our other centre backs can't do. So it's impressive, but he does look like he's not up to the speed of the game as yet. 3 times he got caught out dawdling on the ball there and putting it away. One was giving a goal away, another one, Albert Kelly-Hill made an amazing save, and another one he's got away with. So he's a smart bloke, I'm sure. He's played a lot of football. I'm sure knows he needs to speed that up. But, if that was another player, he would be absolutely slated. But he's still got a bit of credit because everyone likes him because he's an all white, and a bit of a legend in New Zealand football. So it'll keep him the negative sayers off him a little bit. So I still think he'll start next week, and I don't think that's probably the right decision as well. But hopefully he'll start realising that you can't take his time on there. The A-League may not be full of a huge amount of quality this year, but you've still got people who are pretty fast. And if you take your time, they'll jump on you. My biggest disappointment about this game is not the fact that we lost a 2-goal lead and missed a penalty. That's quite a big disappointment there. But it's the fact that, apart from that, we were playing a really boring game plan. And it's one of those things where, you just got to be careful what you wish for. So after the Newcastle game where we had 4 goals put past us, everyone was slagging off defence, saying we're terrible, we've got to do better. And fair enough, we had 4 goals put past us. But Newcastle putting 4 goals past everybody. They're an amazing attacking side. They're putting 4 or 5 past every single team in the league. I don't think we were that bad defensively last week. We weren't good, absolutely not, but we weren't that bad. But Chiefy's taken that criticism on board, or he didn't like what he looked, or what he saw, and he's put out an incredibly defensive lineup. So Retre was in our forward line. Holy God. Najarine was in the forward line. We've known he's not really done anything going forward this season. So Piper's out. Armiento was playing further back. I could not see where the goals were going to come from. And I think I did mention, I can't see, the only way we're going to score a goal is going to be an Eze solo goal. And actually, that was the only 2 goals we got, were Eze solo goal. One where he just pressured the defender, he made a mistake, and the second one, which was a magnificent strike. But totally by himself. No one else was helping. And after that, we hardly got any chances from that lineup. But we also didn't concede any. So, in that respect, we did exactly what we meant to. But this is going back to last season. This is going back to being really strong defensively, but having no outlet going forward. And last season was boring as batshit to watch. And this game was also boring as batshit to watch for that first half because neither team were very good. Wellington were very good defensively. Melbourne City were reasonable defensively. We had a very, very good striker in Eze, who a lot of fans have taken notice of him now. He will be trying to be poached by this season, absolutely. I went to the pub after the Sydney derby with a lot of my Sydney FC mates, and they're all talking about they want Eze next season. So I'm a bit worried about that, but anyway. But apart from that game was not a game for anyone to watch. Chiefy may have been happy, and defensive people may have been happy because we didn't concede anything. But I would prefer to be watching a Newcastle game where they're putting 4 goals and we're having 23 shots down the other end as well, even if we lose, rather than the 2-2 board draw that was. But it would have worked. It would have worked had we not made 2 individual errors. We would have come away from that with a 2-0 victory, 3-0 with a penalty, and we'd have gone, yeah, this is the way it goes. This is great. But we would have been fooling ourselves, I think, because that lineup does not create many chances. We have quite a few attacking people who can work. Eze is obviously very good. Piper causes chaos. Armiento, if you're playing a lineup where Armiento isn't spending more than 50% of his time in the opposition half, then you might as well not have him on the pitch. He's not a defender. He's got the best left foot in the competition. You've got to get him in positions where he can just have a shot from anywhere. It doesn't matter how far back. You just get him up there till he shoots, because that's probably one of our best attacking weapons. But if you're playing where he's just going to be covering at the back, and we have no proper left back to actually play the ball forward to him when he does get forward, then he might as well not be playing. So there was a lot of frustration from me there in terms of how we set up and how we played. And, it nearly worked in some ways. Well, I'm not glad it didn't work, but I'm hoping we don't put our lineup out again, because it's just not entertaining. And we're probably not going to win this league this year. We might not even get to the final. So I at least want some entertainment. And that's what we have been getting, and we didn't get in that much.
I do understand being a little bit conservative with City. They're still a strong team, season in and season out. And I think I agree with you on Carlo that he's best deployed as an attacker. I think that City really targeted that side of the field when you saw the stats on which part of the field they were progressing the ball through. And it really was targeting Carlo because he pushes far up and he's more of an attacker than a defender. I'm curious on your thoughts about the penalty. Now, Mandrake puts it about the same place that he put the penalty he did score, and that penalty looked great when the keeper goes the other way. Obviously, but decided to go, he's put it in the same place, to go the same place that he had put it the first time. And then I think at that point, the positioning is an easy save. So for you, do you think that was a good pen? And second of all, should we have chosen somebody else for that penalty?
Well, if you don't score, it's not a good penalty. As simple as that, basically. So no, it wasn't a good penalty. Had it gone in, it would have been a good penalty. So yeah, he put it in exactly the same place he put his other penalty. I'm sure Beach has seen that, but again, Mandrake might have thought, well, Beach has seen that. I think I'll go the other way, so I'll go the same way. It's all mind games. And Beach came out on top this time. In terms of should he have taken the penalty, he's our designated penalty taker. And I'm sure they didn't pull that name out of a hat. It's probably based on training, who scores more penalties there. Najjarine has taken one penalty, but Mandrake made it very clear that he let Najjarine take that, and he's a penalty taker. So he's got the confidence to do it. Who are we to say someone else is better than him taking penalties? We don't see them training enough to decide why he's been given that responsibility. I guess we'll see the next match, the next penalty we get, whether he comes up and does it. Again, I don't know enough about his record to see whether, what his percentage of win, of penalties are that he scores. You presume it's okay, or else he wouldn't be the designated penalty taker. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's annoying and it's frustrating. And what can you do?
We'll see. So next up, we have Melbourne victory at home. That's the second half of that doubleheader on this Friday, Waitangi Day 6. That game kicks off at 7 p.m, but I do very strongly recommend that you show up at 4 p.m. to watch our women play Perth. I haven't been watching Victory, and so I don't know whether at any thoughts?
Well, look, it's the A-League this season. You can toss a coin and see who's going to win. Teams play brilliant one week and bad the other. So Victory, they put 4 past Sydney, and then they lose to Central Coast yesterday. So, what can happen? Sydney are the same. They shipped 4 to Melbourne Victory, and then they put 4 past Wanderers. So, it's such a topsy-turvy season because I don't think there's a lot of good quality in the A-League here. Newcastle are starting to run away with that a little bit just because they're just going all out in attack. So they'll just outscore you. You can put goals in them because they're not particularly good defensively, but they'll outscore you. But the other teams, just so inconsistent. So which Melbourne Victory will turn up? How will we play? I think we need to be more attacking than we were against City. But I think, we sit back. We saw it all last season. We sit back, we defend, eventually we'll leak a goal because, it happens. And then we don't have the time or the attacking assets on the pitch to go up and actually gain something. So I would want us to play more attacking football, have, Armiento further up, not have Retre in our forward line. Sorry, Retre, have Piper up there because he does something. And, just try and score some goals because that's what's winning this season. Scoring goals is winning games. Defending isn't winning games because no one seems to be able to do it very well. So whether we will do that, I have my doubts. I think Chiefy will look at that last game and say if it wasn't for individual errors, we would have won that. And so he will, and we controlled the game for a long time, so I think he'll go back to that. And I don't think that's going to serve as well. I think Victory will probably win. I hope not, but I think so.
Yes, the good old Hope not, or think so, but you're right. Anyone can beat anyone, and I am grateful for one that we do not have to play the Jets again this season because they have been incredible in attack, and I believe they might be top of the league at the moment, so well done to the Jets. All right, well, thank you for joining us. If you can make it to join the Fever on Friday for both of those games, please do, and from us, that's it. Thank you. Matua.